साथ कुर्बानियाँ की थी। तो आपसे गुजारिश है कि जिस काम में आप हिस्सा लेना चाहते हैं आप भरपूर इसकी बदल फरमाएं। जज़ाकुमुल्लाह।
Dearest friends in Islam, just a few important announcements. Inshallah, today after the Taraweeh Salah, we will have a very special program in our masjid with our guest speaker being Mufti Amir Isab. Inshallah, he will impart advices. Thereafter, there will be a question and answer session. So all the brothers are requested that please do participate in this program. Alongside with this program, we will also be hosting a Nafil Etikaf from the Taraweeh Salah all the way till the Zahar Salah. Today we mark the very first 10 days of the month of Ramadan. My dearest friends in Islam, let's take account as how we have spent the very first 10 days of the month of Ramadan. Let's take account of our nawafil, our namaz, our Quran recitation, what we have done for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this month of Ramadan. This nafil etikaf is a great opportunity for us to put the dunya onto one side, to put it behind our backs, to come into the masjid and to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all the brothers are requested that please do try to participate in the nafil etikaf. If you cannot come for the nafil etikaf, at least participate in the program after the Taraweeh Salah. And also, inshallah, after the adhkar and dua, the program of Mufti Ismail Akubat, who is the son of late marhum Hafiz Hifzur Rahman. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower his abundant mercies upon him. His program will be taking place in the English language, so all the brothers are requested that please do participate. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers are requested to come close and fill in all the empty cups in front of you. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الذين يحبون أن تشيع الفاحشة في الذين آمنوا لهم عذاب أليم في الدنيا والآخرة والله يعلم وأنتم لا تعلمون. صدق الله العظيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذرياته. Honorable ulama kiram, respected elders and brothers, every year in the month of Ramadan, alongside our fasting, alongside our prayers, we try to learn how to become better Muslims. And to become a better Muslim, as well as inculcating in our lives those traits and those actions which are praiseworthy, we need to look out for any evils which are creeping into our society, and we need to make utmost effort to distance ourselves from them. And my dear respected friends, in the recent years, one of the many evils that has crept up in our society, and one of the many evils which has become widespread, is the evil of something called the cancel culture. Now my elders, because this was not prevalent in their time, they might not know exactly how this works. But the youngsters, they will have a good idea, especially with the advancement of social media, how rapidly this illness is advancing in our society. The evil of cancelling someone out. So in this time, inshallah, I will try to explain what this cancel culture is, why it is wrong from an Islamic perspective, and how we can look into the time of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam and see how he is to combat this cancel culture. So cancel culture is basically a unique idea where society deems an individual unworthy, unfit, and society thinks that this individual must be cancelled, he must be isolated, and he must be sidelined. He has no place left in society. And this is generally due to a mistake, a slip of the tongue, something this individual has done in the past. Because of this, now you think that this individual has to be sidelined, he has to be deplatformed, and he must not be given any space in society. Now, just as a disclaimer, sometimes cancelling someone is necessary. And sometimes this cancel culture is a very effective tool. For example, when an individual, his evil is such that it is causing disturbance to society, this individual is a danger for society, then most definitely he needs to be cancelled. But generally, the cancel culture which I am talking about is the cancel culture of the social media, where a little mistake, something minor, a slip of the tongue, something got leaked, and because of that everyone begins to cancel and isolate this individual. My dear respected friends, from an Islamic perspective, this is wrong. And the first and foremost reason is our Islam, our religion teaches us not to look for faults in other people. So our religion discourages from looking for faults in other people. We should always be concerned about our own self, not the faults of other people. And a person is generally cancelled when people look into his profile, people look into his life, and they look for things to pinpoint. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, in a hadith narrated by Abu Barza al-Aslami radiyallahu anhu, he said, لا تغتابوا المسلمين ولا تتبعوا عوراتهم. Do not look for faults in fellow Muslim brothers. Why? فَإِنَّهُ مَنِ اتَّبَعَ عَوْرَاتِهِمْ يَتَّبِعُ اللَّهُ عَوْرَاتَهُ. That individual who looks for faults in other people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will look for faults in him. And then what will happen if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala finds faults in him? وَمَنْ يَتَّبِعِ اللَّهُ عَوْرَتَهُ يَفْضَحْهُ فِي بَيْتِهِ. And that individual in whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins finding faults, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will disgrace him and humiliate him despite him being in the comforts of his home. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will disgrace him. One who has the habit of looking for faults in other people. The last emperor of the Mughal Empire, Bahadur Shah Zafar, he has a very famous couplet in the Urdu language. He says, Nati hal ki jab hame apni khabar, rahe dekhte auron ke aibo hunar, pari apni buraiyon pe jo nazar, to jahan mein koi bura na raha. He says that when I was unaware of my condition, I used to look at the faults of Zayd, I used to look at the faults of Umar, I used to look at the faults of Muhammad, the faults of Ahmad. I used to look at the faults of different people. But when my reality opened up in front of me, then I realized that I am the worst from everybody. So that's when I stopped looking at other people's faults. So rather than concentrating on the faults and the weaknesses of other people, we need to think and have a reality check about ourselves. So the first thing is, we're not meant to be looking for a chance to pounce upon people. And secondly, if we do come across a fault of another Muslim brother, another fellow human being, then rather than announcing or rather than amplifying that fault, we should be concealing and hiding this fault. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, he says, Man satara musliman fid dunya, satarahu Allahu fid dunya wal akhirah. That individual who conceals the fault of another Muslim brother in this world, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only He will conceal his faults in this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also conceal all his sins in the hereafter. So if you conceal someone else's fault, someone else's slip of the tongue in this world, someone else's mistake in this world, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will conceal you and your sins in the hereafter. And my dear respected friends, this is the most important thing. On the day of judgment, where humanity from the time of Adam alayhi salatu wassalam all the way until the final person to walk on the face of this earth will be present, that is when we need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sifate sattari, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's quality of concealing the most. Hazrat Dr. Abdul Hayy Arifi rahmatullahi alayhi, the Shaykh of the world-renowned scholar Hazrat Mufti Muhammad Taqi Uthmani Damat Barakatuhu, he used to always say, and this is not a hadith or something, but he would just say to explain to people, he would say that on the day of Qiyamah, the person who is destined for Jahannam, a Jahannami, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will stop him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make a deal with him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, if you accept this one deal, then I will cancel your entry into Jahannam and I will grant you entry into Jannah. So this individual will say, what's that deal? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will answer, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say that just one deal, and that deal is that today in front of the entire mankind, I will play on the big screen the reel of your entire life. And the whole of mankind will be able to see from the day you became baligh until your last breath exactly what you did in your public life and your private life. If you are happy for me to play this reel of your life, then I will cancel your entry into Jahannam and I will grant you entry into Jannah. Hazrat Dr. Abdul Hayy Arifi rahmatullahi alayhi, a great saint, the Khalifa and disciple of Hakimul Ummat Hazrat Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanwi rahmatullahi alayhi, he used to say that this individual, he will bear going into Jahannam, but he will not bear the fact that people were to see his reel of life which he lived in the world. So my dear respected friends, think about the hereafter. Think about that time when we need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's concealing. This is why we should conceal the faults of other people in this world. Thirdly, there is a concept, a hadith, which Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says that al-majalisu bil amana. The gatherings we hold and the gatherings we have, they are with amana. That means if you're with an individual and you're in a private meeting, you're in a private gathering, then the rule is that the contents of that gathering, whatever was discussed, that is with amana. That means without the permission of that individual, you can't narrate whatever he said to someone else. Generally, what happens when someone is cancelled, it all stems from a private recording, a private message which was leaked, something private which came into the public forum. And as a result of this, this person is cancelled. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, without his permission, you weren't even allowed to leak that private recording. You weren't allowed to leak this private message. So much so that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam explained a mas'ala that إِذَا حَدَّثَ الرَّجُلُ بِالْحَدِيثِ, when you're talking to someone, so you're talking to an individual, you're standing alone with him, and ثُمَّ الْتَفَتَ, he looks right and he looks left. فَهِيَ أَمَانَةٌ, just his looking right and left, that is sufficient to tell you that the thing he is talking to you about, that is an amana, that is a trust. You can't divulge his secret. You can't let his information out because he's looked right and left to make sure no one else is listening to him. So my dear respected friends, leaking private recordings, private messages, this is something which is not allowed. And imagine if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was to leak our private life. Would there be anyone sitting here that would be free from being cancelled? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was to leak everything and disclose everything which was hidden in our lives, there'd be no one here. There'll be no one here that would be able to show their face. So if certain individual, something of his private life becomes public, then this is not a chance and this is not a time for individuals to make the most of this and then cancel and isolate this individual. Thereafter, the fourth point is Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran has told us something which is called husnul dhan, thinking good of your fellow Muslim brother. Many a time someone tries to explain their stance, that I meant this, I tried to say this was my murad, this was my intention, this was, it's been taken out of context. So context is very, very important. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said that you should give your Muslim brother the benefit of the doubt. So if an individual, slip of the tongue, he meant something else and he's clarifying himself, then we should have husnul dhan. We should have a good assumption of this person and we should give him the benefit of the doubt and not try to use this as a means to cancel this individual. And if perhaps this individual has made a mistake, he has made a remark and now he's remorseful, he's regretful, he's looking for forgiveness, he's apologizing, then rather than throwing this individual under the bus, we should give him this opportunity and we should forgive. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, because of a certain incident, Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, he took an oath that he will not give his donations to a relative of his. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said in the glorious Quran, أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ, O Abu Bakr, do you not wish that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives you? So if you wish Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you, then you should also forgive your relative. So similar concept, if we wish Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives us, then when an individual makes a mistake, this person comes out and apologizes, then we should give him the chance. We should forgive him. And we should forgive him with the intention that if we forgive him today, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive our sins on the day of Qiyamah. And my dear respected friends, the goal is not to punish an individual. So if a person has made a mistake and now he's apologizing, the goal is not to punish him. The goal is rehabilitation. We should give him another chance. So if this individual is remorseful, he's regretful, then we shouldn't cancel him, we shouldn't isolate him, we should accept his forgiveness when we see a difference in his demeanor, when we see a difference that this person is now a changed individual, then our religion is all about rehabilitation. We should give this individual another chance. Now let's look into the life of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam and the lives of the Sahaba, how their beautiful culture was. And we can really learn from the culture of the Sahaba and the culture of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, how individuals were welcomed, and when there was an opportunity for an individual to be cancelled, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam and the Sahaba did not let this happen. The famous incident of Ka'b ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu. Ka'b ibn Malik was a very, very great Sahabi. A very great Sahabi. And the story and the hadith is very lengthy. We'll only concentrate on those parts of the story which are relevant to our topic. So Hazrat Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, he mentions his long narration of his. He says that it was the expedition of Tabuk, Ghazwa Tabuk. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam had made an open announcement that everyone must take part in the expedition of Tabuk. Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu says, it was a time, Ghazaha Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam fi harrin shadid. It was extremely hot, it was scorching hot, it was really, really hot, it was difficult. Similarly, that expedition of Tabuk was at the time, حين طابت الثمار والظلال. It was at the time when the khajurs, the dates were ripe, and it was now time to harvest the dates. So it was a very tricky time. Everyone was waiting to harvest their dates. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam made announcement for Tabuk. So majority of the Sahaba, they left, and Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, he says, procrastination got the better of me. Tasweef, tomorrow, this got the better of me. I'll make my tayyari tomorrow. And then when tomorrow came, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. Because of this tomorrow, it so happened that Tabuk took place, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam returned, and I didn't get the chance to go. And then Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, when he was narrating this hadith, he would express his remorse. He would say, Ya laytani fa'alt. Just if I had gone with Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam at the first opportunity, tasweef and procrastination got the better of me, and by doing tomorrow, the ghazwa of Tabuk went out of my hands. Anyway, when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, he reached Tabuk, he sat down with his Sahaba, and he saw that Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu is missing. So he asked his Sahaba, Ma fa'ala Ka'b ibn Malik? What has happened to Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu? Where is he? So an individual, before the Sahaba could answer, an individual whom the muhaddithin have labeled a munafiq, a hypocrite, he stood up and he said, O Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, habasahu burdahu wa nadhru fi itfay. O Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Ka'b ibn Malik is full of himself. He's too busy in his dunya. He's too busy worried about his dunya. Don't ask about Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu. He's worried about his dunya. So then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, before he could make a judgment, immediately Hazrat Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu anhu, the giant Sahabi, he immediately stood up and he countered the statement of this munafiq. Again, cancelling someone. He tried to cancel Ka'b ibn Malik. He took this opportunity to mention something about Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu to cancel him for good. But Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, the Sahaba knew he was a genuine Sahabi, and maybe this procrastination got the better of him. So the Sahabi, Hazrat Mu'adh ibn Jabal, he stood up immediately. He saw what was going on, and he said to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Wallahi ma alimna alayhi illa khayra. And then he said to this munafiq, Bi'sa ma qulta. He said to this munafiq, whatever you said, your statement is so wrong. Your statement is so wrong. He said to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam that we have not seen anything but khair and anything but good from the life of Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu. Maybe ghafla got the better of him, maybe he was slightly laid back, maybe he made a mistake that he didn't come out in this expedition. But O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he is not a munafiq, he is not a hypocrite, he doesn't have double standards, rather he is a genuine Sahabi, and we have not seen anything but good from him. So this is what we have to do as well. When we see that someone is being thrown under the bus, okay, when someone is mentioning something about someone and it's not exactly right, then rather than allowing that to happen, we should intervene and we should mention the good qualities of this individual. Similarly, later on in this hadith, another incident of cancel culture and how the Sahaba cancelled the cancel culture. Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, he mentions that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam came back. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam asked the reason why I stayed behind. I was honest and I could have, he says, لَقَدْ أُعْطِيتُ جَدَلًا. I had the gift of the gab. I could have easily, mentioned something and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam would have fell for it, or Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam would have believed me. But I knew that if I was to lie today in front of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Allah will reveal and disclose my reality. So Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu says, I told Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam the reality. Whatever was the truth, I told Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam that it was negligence on my part and I had no real excuse. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he made an order that Ka'b ibn Malik and 2 other genuine Sahaba who stayed behind from this Tabuk, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam ordered that they must be boycotted. For 50 days, no one was allowed to talk to these Sahaba. 50 days. So Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu says, these 50 days had passed. Now let's come back to the point. The cancel culture. After these 50 days had passed, the Sahaba, they didn't have this mindset that it's been 50 days, they've done this, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was naraz with them, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was displeased with them. Now we should also continue and we should maybe salam kalam here and there, but we shouldn't welcome them back into society. Give them some time. Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, he says, after the 50 days had passed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he revealed our tawbah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ثُمَّ تَابَ عَلَيْهِمْ لِيَتُوبُوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed their tawbah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now allowed everyone to converse with us like they were doing, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had wiped our sin away. So Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, he says that I went to the masjid. It was the Fajr Salah time. I went to the masjid. He says the people that already had left the masjid, that were outside the masjid, he says, يَتَلَقَّانِ النَّاسُ فَوْجًا فَوْجًا يُهَنِّئُونَنِي بِتَوْبَةِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. As I was entering the masjid, those who had already left the masjid, each and every person was congratulating me and was embracing me about the tawbah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one was there reminding of his sin. No one was there ignoring him. Everyone was there. يَتَلَقَّانِ النَّاسُ فَوْجًا فَوْجًا. In groups, they would come and embrace me. And thereafter, when I walked inside the masjid, I was about to go and meet Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and the Sahaba were sat around Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He says, as I entered the masjid, the Sahaba, they looked back and they turned towards me. They saw me walking in. Remember, it's 50 days. They've not spoke to this individual. Everyone was told to boycott this individual. After 50 days, this individual is walking inside the masjid. He says that فَقَامَ إِلَيَّ طَلْحَةُ بْنُ عُبَيْدِ اللَّهِ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ حَتَّى صَافَحَنِي وَهَنَّأَنِي. That from all the Sahaba, everyone remained seated. They were waited for me to come. But one Sahabi, Talha ibn Ubaidillah, he stood up, he went the extra mile and he ran towards me, and in front of everyone he embraced me, he hugged me and he congratulated me. And he says, he remembered this. He said, مَا قَامَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ غَيْرُهُ. Ka'b ibn Malik, he explicitly mentions, and he remembered this, that I very clearly remember that it was only Talha radiallahu anhu that stood for me and no one else. And his son says later on, وَكَانَ كَعْبٌ لَا يَنْسَاهَا لِطَلْحَةَ. And because of this act of Talha ibn Ubaidullah radiallahu anhu, for the rest of his life, Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu didn't forget the ihsan and the favor that Talha ibn Ubaidillah radiallahu anhu conferred upon him. That it was that time when it had been 50 days, and maybe someone would have took the opportunity to prolong this, but Talha ibn Ubaidillah, he cancelled this. He went against the norm and he stood up, he left the gathering, and before I even met Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was there to welcome me. So occasions like this, opportunities like this, we should seize these opportunities, and we should look for an opportunity and excuse to welcome an individual who is remorseful and an individual who is regretful. And ihsan and favors such of these, like Ka'b ibn Malik radiallahu anhu would say, they stay with an individual for the rest of his life. Another incident, and this is also another lengthy narration which will only focus on that point of the hadith which is relevant to our topic, and that is the waqi'atul ifk, the story of the accusation on our mother Sayyidatuna Aisha radiallahu anha. We all know the famous incident where certain munafiqeen, they got together and they spread a very ill rumor about the mother of the believers, Sayyidatuna Aisha radiallahu anha. They spread a very evil rumor about Aisha radiallahu anha. Cutting the long story short, when the whole incident was over, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He revealed the innocence and the purity and the chastity of Sayyidatuna Aisha radiallahu anha. After everything was finished, Aisha radiallahu anha was proven innocent. Aisha radiallahu anha mentions something again which we can take lesson for in terms of cancel culture. Aisha radiallahu anha, she says that whilst the process was ongoing and wahi was still not revealed yet, and my innocence was still not revealed, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was doing his job and he was asking other sahaba, other sahabiyat about myself and what they thought of me. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, one of the people he took mashwara from in this period was his other noble consort Sayyidatuna Zainab binte Jahash radiyallahu anha. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam asked Sayyidatuna Zainab binte Jahash radiyallahu anha, when this rumor, imagine this rumor going on about his wife Aisha radiyallahu anha, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is asking his other wife. So Zainab binte Jahash radiyallahu anha, this is her co-wife Sayyidatuna Aisha radiyallahu anha. And obviously we all know there's competition between the co-wives. There's competition. And this was the perfect opportunity. When everyone's talking ill about Aisha radiallahu anha, perfect opportunity for Zainab binte Jahash to also add some masala. This was the perfect opportunity for Zainab binte Jahash radiallahu anha to say what she wanted and to gain the attention of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But what did Aisha radiallahu anha say? That when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam asked Zainab binte Jahash radiallahu anha, she said that ahmi sam'i wa basari. Ahmi sam'i wa basari, wallahi ma alimtu alayha illa khayra. O Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, you're asking me about Aisha radiallahu anha, you're asking me about her purity. She said that wallahi, I have not seen anything but good from Aisha radiallahu anha. And Aisha radiallahu anha says after this, وَكَانَ هِيَ الَّتِي تُسَامِينِي مِنْ أَزْوَاجِ النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. She was from all the wives of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Zainab binte Jahash was that wife which was most at competition with me. She had the most competition with me to please Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Yet she did not take this opportunity to mention something about Aisha radiallahu anha which was untrue. So what do we learn from this? That despite how much we want to throw someone under the bus, despite how much we might not have a feeling for someone, but if this individual is not in the wrong, if this person has been cancelled, we should do everything to bring this individual back into society. And I'll mention one final incident and then we'll wrap up inshallah. And that is the incident of Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a. Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a was another sahabi. A sahabi who went to the battle of Badr, a Badri sahabi. And again, the incident is long, but we want to concentrate on this message. Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a, he made a slight error. He made a slight error in judgment, a slight mistake. And what he did was, he divulged some of the secrets of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam to the Quraysh. And he only did this in good nature. He didn't do this because, na'udhu billah, he had something to do with the mushrikeen and something to do with the Quraysh, and he was against Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It was a genuine mistake. He thought, let me have a favor, let me divulge some secrets, let me inform the Quraysh of some of the plans, future plans of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, so that Quraysh, they have a soft spot for me and they don't attack my family who is in Makkah. So he wanted to have an ihsan, because the Quraysh, the Arabs, they hold on to this ihsan a lot. So if I mention a few secrets, few ideas, few plans of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, maybe they'll have a soft spot for me and they will not harm my family. They will not attack my family who are in Makkah. So then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed him through wahi that this Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a, he has sent some information with a traveler from Medina to Makkah. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam sent some Sahaba, Ali, Miqdad radiyallahu anhum, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam told them, intaliqu ila rawdati khakh, go until this place. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he pinpointed the location, go to this location, and when you will reach this location, you will meet a traveler, she will have a letter with her, go and bring that letter back to me. So the Sahaba went, they got hold of that letter and they brought it back to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and in it there was some private information, some secrets, some plans which Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam had made. So then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he summoned this Sahabi Hazrat Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to him, Ma hada ya Hatib? What's all this about? You know, you're divulging secrets and you're exposing my plans to our enemies. You know, this is very detrimental. This is very dangerous. So then Hatib ibn Balta'a, he gave his excuse, which I just mentioned. He gave his excuse, he gave his reason. This was an opportunity to cancel Hatib ibn Balta'a if they wanted to. That's what's he doing? He's telling secrets of the Muslims to the non-Muslims. In the time where it was very, very dangerous. This was a great opportunity to cancel Hatib ibn Balta'a. And certain Sahaba understandably were very, very angry with Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a for doing this. Umar radiyallahu anhu, he stood up and he said, Da'ni adrib unuqahu ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, give me the opportunity, I'll take the opportunity in my hands and I'll saw him out. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, again, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam combated this culture. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam knew he's genuine. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam knew he made a mistake. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam looked for an excuse. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Da'ahu ya Umar, Da'ahu ya Umar, leave him O Umar. Innahu shahida badran. What excuse did Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam make for him? O Umar, he has participated in the battle of Badr. وَلَعَلَّ اللَّهَ قَدِ اطَّلَعَ عَلَىٰ أَهْلِ بَدْرٍ فَقَالَ لَهُمْ اِعْمَلُوا مَا شِئْتُمْ فَإِنِّي قَدْ غَفَرْتُ لَكُمْ. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what do you know Umar? Perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has turned to all those Sahaba who took part in the battle of Badr, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told them, do as you wish because I've granted you forgiveness. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has turned to the people of Badr. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted them eternal forgiveness. So leave him and leave his mu'amala with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was very, very careful that this opportunity did not lead the Sahaba to cancel Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a. Rather, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he looked for an excuse, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave him another chance. So my dear respected friends, if we study our beautiful deen, if we study the Quran, if we study the ahadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, we will see the cure for all the problems which are prevalent in our society. It is just a matter that we need to look inside the Quran, we need to sit by the ulama, we need to understand our deen, the beauty of our deen. And in the seerah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in the glorious Quran, we will find a remedy for every single illness. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He grant us all the tawfiq and the understanding to practice upon whatever has been said. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لك الحمد كما أنت أهله، فصل وسلم على محمد كما أنت أهله، وافعل بنا ما أنت أهله، فإنك أهل التقوى وأهل المغفرة. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معاصيك، ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك، ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا، ومتعنا اللهم بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقواتنا أبدا ما أبقيتنا، واجعله الوارث منا، واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا، وانصرنا على من عادانا، ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا، ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا، ولا إلى النار مصيرنا. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذ منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. O Allah, please forgive all our sins. O Allah, forgive our major and minor sins. O Allah, please grant us all eternal forgiveness in this month of Ramadan. O Allah, please grant us your pleasure in the month of Ramadan. O Allah, grant us the ability to do all those things which please you and which secure your pleasure in the month of Ramadan. O Allah, please grant us the ability to stay away from all sins. O Allah, grant us the ability to use the month of Ramadan to achieve the quality of taqwa. O Allah, please forgive the sins of our parents. O Allah, please forgive the sins of our family. O Allah, please forgive the sins of the whole ummah. O Allah, accept our fasting in the month of Ramadan. O Allah, accept our Taraweeh prayer. O Allah, accept all our ibadah in the month of Ramadan, and whatever shortcomings we have done, O Allah, please forgive them. O Allah, please grant, please accept all our du'as in the month of Ramadan. And O Allah, whatever your pious servants ask for in the month of Ramadan, O Allah, grant us all those goodnesses. Whatever evil they sought refuge from, O Allah, please grant us refuge from all those illnesses. O Allah, accept our du'as. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله.